send another song.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 551. It's Monday, August 19th, 2013, 11 p.m. Pacific Time, Internet Talk Radio for your imagination. Mike Matthews broadcasting from the last place on earth located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California. Today we hear from Madame Rootabega, Valentino, Bison Bentley, plus we bring you the return of the MIKELOPEDIA INSANICA, where we'll hear some interesting stories concerning science.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And I was listening to another podcast that was talking about something that makes you want to throw out your appliance.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Specifically, your outdoor lights, because all that light that we have to illuminate the night is causing us to have really foresight in seeing the amazing things like the stars up in the sky. And can you remember the last time you saw the Milky Way? Neither can I. Actually, it was probably 10 years ago when I...
Mike's Daily Podcast.
...was up near Copperopolis and Angels Camp in Gold Country. And it was late at night
Mike's
that I could see
Daily
the Milky Way
Podcast,
satellites, and countless stars. And, actually, a year ago, when my cousin Ann-Katrine was visiting from Germany, my now ex-wife and I and her went up to what is called Groveland, up there on your way to Yosemite when you're coming from the Bay Area. And we stayed there the night before going to Yosemite the next day. And neither one of them wanted to go outside late at night to see all the stars. But I did. I went out there. There was a little chaise lounge. I laid back. I looked up in the sky and was just mesmerized. And we don't have that anymore today. The kids today, a lot of them get off my front lawn. No, the kids today with their rock and roll. Kids today, really, that grew up in cities, they don't know what the night sky really looks like, because we have more and more of that tremendous real night sky left anymore. And when you look up into all those stars and all that infinity, it really brings your life out of a bubble. And you realize that there is so much more going on in the universe than what's going on in this little blue marble. And it takes you out of the pettiness of checking your iPhone every 5 minutes for a Facebook update or all that other minutia. You need to look up at the night sky a couple times a year and really get a sense of where your place is in the grand scheme of things. Or listen to Kansas's Dust in the Wind. Oh, look, who just walked in.
Hello, Michael Masters. This is Madame Rootabega. And I remember when I was a little girl, and I would look up into the night sky, and I would see all of the stars, and see oblivion, and I would feel so insignificant. It was wonderful.
Yeah, feeling insignificant really is just a gas, isn't it?
And stars are made of gas.
It all comes back around, doesn't it?
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't believe it.
Wow, you're turning into like a Pointer Sisters song. You're so excited and you just can't hide it. You know, I got that way yesterday after having this coffee. They make a blended frappe, this little coffee place does, across the street from our local community college, Chabot Community College. It's this place called Eon Coffee. Actually, I have a flyer for this podcast up on their corkboard. So maybe someone that's sitting in there is listening to this show right now. Probably not. But this place, Eon Coffee, makes a mocha frappe. They must put 3,000 cups of coffee in this thing. The equivalent of that much caffeine, because I was just with caffeine the rest of the day. Even late into the night, like 2 a.m, I was still going.
Maybe they put crack in their coffee.
Aw, that's sweet. Look who else just walked in.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the barking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Guys, have you seen my flyer hanging up in Eon Coffee?
Yeah, when we go in there, we're very mesmerized by all the beautiful college girls there.
Yeah, one time I asked one out, and then she gave me a calculus problem which I couldn't solve, and because of that, we didn't go out. Do you know that?
Sounds like your ego is bruised.
Slightly.
Well, there is something here that will take your minds off of that, and that is that explosion in Russia, that meteor that exploded over the Russian city of Chelyabinsk. That happened back in February. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, I kind of remember something exploding in the sky there.
Yeah, it was really a frightening thing because we all thought that it was linked to some other asteroid that was even bigger that would have actually destroyed the Earth there. Do you know that?
Well, you know a lot about that.
Yeah, I do.
Well, apparently what happened was a chunk of meteor the size of a bus hit the ground. The detonation shattered windows, set off car alarms. It injured more than 1,000 people. But however, this was another interesting thing that they're only now figuring out, that there was an enormous plume of dust that the Russian meteor left behind in the atmosphere. This cloud, which had hundreds of tons of material in it, was still lingering 3 months after the February 15th explosion. We even have a new dust belt in the Earth's stratosphere.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, you're amazing us.
So scientists tracked this plume, and it revealed some insights into how particles behave in the Earth's atmosphere. Heavier particles moved more slowly as they dropped closer to Earth in an area with lower wind speeds. Lighter particles maintained speed and altitude consistent with predictions of wind velocities at those heights.
So kind of like fat people and thin people running around a track.
That's one way to look at it, Bill Nye the Science Guy. But although this cloud was detectable, apparently about 30 metric tons of space dust hits the Earth every day on average. Also, volcanoes and other natural Earth sources contribute far greater numbers of particles to the stratosphere.
Michael, once again, it's very important that everybody looks up at a real night sky and sees all the stars, and then they are full of wonderment.
Yes, full of wonderment, which you really can't get when you're sitting in your house all day behind a computer or staring at your iPhone. Yes, there's man-made wonderment that can take your breath away, but it's the natural wonderment that will outlive us all and will outlive human civilization. That really ends up putting things in perspective. Your thoughts on the matter. Email me, mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. I read your comments on the section Emails for Memail. That email address is the name of the show, and then you just slap at Gmail at the end. Also email me there if you'd like to be a guest on the show or if you'd like to sponsor the show. We also have the website, mikesdailypodcast.com, and that is a fantastic place to go to find links to where to listen to the show in iTunes, Yelp, Twitter, SoundCloud, Spreaker, YouTube, and what other social media can I pronounce in a weird way? Oh yeah, Facebook. In fact, click on that link to our Facebook page and like this show on Facebook. If you do that, when we post a show, if you could share the show with people on your Facebook, your Facebook friends, more people will find out about this show and we'll get more popular and we won't die in internet limbo. All those links at mikesdailypodcast.com, as well as the blog, the daily podcast picture, and the Amazon link to the Amazon deal of the day, where if you buy something through that link, we see a little bit of money at mikesdailypodcast.com.
The MIKELOPEDIA INSANICA.
This is the segment, the MIKELOPEDIA INSANICA, where I have this huge book of knowledge with all sorts of topics that I will now open and find an interesting thing to tell you about now. A good place to start in the MIKELOPEDIA INSANICA is at the beginning, and the A's, and the letter A, and this first one, the word ancient. And this article has to do with something ancient, with roots that stretch back to the patterns found on a clay tablet from Pylos in Greece. Labyrinths date back many centuries. Although typically circular, labyrinths may form a square or other geometric shape. Walking a labyrinth as a meditative practice brings about a feeling of peacefulness and focus, much like a walking meditation. The Chartres Cathedral in Paris houses one of the most famous labyrinths, where it was walked as a pilgrimage to become closer to God. Labyrinth walks appear to reduce stress. A study published in the International Journal of Psychiatry and Medicine involving healthcare providers showed a decreased level of stress and improvements in mental well-being from mindfulness training that included walking meditation for 2.5 hours a week for 8 weeks. Another labyrinth walking pilot study found positive trends in blood pressure after 1 to 6 weeks. Not to be confused with mazes, which branch off in different directions, labyrinths employ a single path leading to a center point without loops or forks. There's no right or wrong path. Labyrinths are categorized according to circuits, which refer to the number of times the paths wind around the center. The 11th circuit, Chartres, after the famous Paris church, and Classic 7 are the most common types. Walking one helps to refocus and relax. We're all running around at 1,000 miles per hour. Walking the labyrinth helps bring your attention the next step, the next inhale, and the next exhale. We literally have to retrain our ability to direct our own attention. The walking also makes it physical, so it engages you on all levels at the same time. The calming effects of walking labyrinths makes them popular with places of worship, healing centers, and schools such as Goucher's College in Baltimore, Maryland. Goucher built the labyrinth on its campus as a memoriam for 2 girls who died during their freshman year. An anonymous alumnus donated the money. Students and teachers use the labyrinth to meditate, pray, and reflect, walking the 5 to 7 minutes along the crushed gravel path to the center. A labyrinth can also offer a healing respite for patients and their families, as it does at the Gathering Place, a nonprofit community-based cancer support center in the greater Cleveland area. The Gathering Place houses 3 labyrinths, including an 11-circuit version in a parking lot where people can walk it whenever they like. There are so many unknowns with the cancer journey, so walking the labyrinth works as a great metaphor, since you're not always sure where you are or what's coming up for you. The unpredictable pattern of the labyrinth engages your analytical brain, which makes it easy to let go of your overactive monkey mind and turn your thoughts to your breath. So, what are tips for labyrinth walking? Number 1, have intention. As you enter and walk towards the center, focus on each step, each breath, and feel yourself reach a relaxed, peaceful state, releasing concerns and quieting the mind. Illumination. When you reach the center, take time to relax and open yourself to learn and receive whatever this moment offers you. And integration. Walking outward towards the beginning represents your life outside the labyrinth, where you bring your experience out into your everyday life. This according to Energy Times in their May issue. And there is a labyrinth actually close to my house that is part of a church there, which also this church acts as my polling place every election cycle. So I go there to vote, and then I can walk the labyrinth to release all the stress I've accumulated over deciding what and who to vote for. Let's look at another topic in the MIKELOPEDIA INSANICA. Another word in the A's is asphalt. Asphalt is tricky stuff. Essentially the leftover goo from oil processing. It contains almost 100,000 different molecules, according to this article by Andy Reber. Not even material engineers know what they all are, or how a given batch of blacktop might react to stressors like moisture or cold. It's also pricey, but civil engineer Ellie H. Finney and her collaborators at North Carolina A&T State University have a solution to tarmac shortcomings, and that is pig poop. Finney, who's quite pretty as this picture, which you can't see because this is internet radio podcasting stuff, but take my word for it. She has developed a process for converting swine manure into something called a bioadhesive. Her Greensboro lab has already done some work using manure-derived bio-oil as an asphalt extender, the way soy protein might help fill out your hamburger. But Feeney's new product called Pigrid turns poo into a glue-like substance that works on its own. No asphalt necessary. She uses vacuum distillation, heat, and pressure to separate out certain molecules, just like making moonshine. Some of them, she won't say which, are jettisoned because they promote cracking. Then Feeney adds chemicals, also top secret, under more heat and pressure, which polymerizes the smaller molecules into long-chain hydrocarbons. These long, bendy molecules mean the stuff stays flexible and the road stays unpotholed. Tests show Pigrid outperforms asphalt, and it's cheaper. Between 2004 and 2012, the cost of asphalt jumped more than 240%. Now check this out. There's 107 million tons of pig manure produced in the U.S. every year. There's 28 million tons of bioadhesive that could be made from this swine byproduct. And negative 34.7 degrees Celsius is the lowest temperature Pigrid has been shown to resist before cracking. And typical asphalt is negative 31.7 degrees, so that's pretty darn close. All right, we're still in the A's of the MIKELOPEDIA Insanicà, and the next topic, we go from asphalt to asteroids. You were expecting a different word? Well, NASA is asking for help from the public, especially experts in fields relating to astronomy and engineering, in identifying asteroids that may be hurtling towards the Earth. The U.S. Space Agency released a request for information asking experts in different fields to look over the information and respond. The so-called Grand Challenge includes an increased focus on defending our planet against the threat of catastrophic asteroid collisions. NASA has been detecting potentially hazardous asteroids since 1998 through its Near-Earth Object Observation Program. It has found 95% of asteroids near Earth that are larger than about 1,000 yards in diameter, but less than 10% of objects smaller than 300 yards in diameter have been discovered, and even fewer of the even smaller flying objects which represent a real threat. Part of the request for information is asking for ideas not only to detect asteroids, but also to destroy or otherwise take them off their path toward the Earth. The space agency has also been working on a plan to visit an asteroid before a later planned trip to Mars. Continuing in the MIKELOPEDIA Insanicà, we go from asteroids to agriculture, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture has been taken over by an outside organization called Monsanto. You may have heard protests against Monsanto, but this little bit of information comes to us via the Connection Magazine, connectionmagazineonline.com. And it says Monsanto is the world's largest biotech corporation. These are the people who brought us Roundup weed killer, along with growth hormones for cows, genetically engineered and patented seeds, PCBs and Agent Orange, which Monsanto now wants to use as an herbicide on genetically engineered corn and soybeans. While Hungary has just destroyed all Monsanto genetically engineered cornfields, the USDA takes a slightly different approach toward the chemical giant. The USDA has, in fact, never denied a single application from Monsanto for new genetically engineered crops. Monsanto's growth hormones for cows have been approved by Michael Taylor, a former Monsanto lobbyist turned USDA administrator and FDA deputy commissioner. This was after Margaret Miller, a former Monsanto employee, oversaw a report on the hormone safety and then took a job at the FDA, where she approved her own report. Islam Siddiqui, a former Monsanto lobbyist, wrote the USDA's food standards, allowing corporations to label irradiated and genetically engineered foods as organic. Yeah, think about that next time you reach to buy something that's organic because it makes you feel good. The recently passed and signed law, nicknamed the Monsanto Protection Act, strips federal courts of the power to halt the sale and planting of genetically engineered crops during a legal appeals process. The origin of this act can be found in the USDA's deregulation of Roundup Ready sugar beets in violation of a court order. The USDA argued that any delay would have caused a sugar shortage since Monsanto holds 95% of the market. And by the way, a recent study links Roundup to autism, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's. Monsanto's board members have worked for the EPA, advised the USDA, and served on President Obama's advisory committee for trade policy and negotiations. If you want to find out how you can protest Monsanto yourself, you can go to the website rootsaction.org. And we go from agriculture to our last topic in today's MIKELOPEDIA INSANICA, and we go from agriculture to a mosquito, my libido. The itchy welts that mosquitoes leave behind are a big pain, but mosquitoes themselves are quite minute, substantially less than even a drop of water. A single raindrop can weigh 50 times as much as a mosquito, according to Spirit magazine, the magazine you get when you fly on Southwest Airlines. So how do mosquitoes survive the occasional summer rainstorm? A study by Georgia Tech chalks up their toughness to a few essential attributes: a super strong exoskeleton and low mass. That and being able to go with the flow. Raindrops fall 10 times faster than mosquitoes can fly, so occasionally the two collide and the mosquito is pinned to the drop. But not for very long, because their legs and wings are so long, they create drag, which allows them to pull away. Oh, mosquitoes. Gotta love them and hate them simultaneously. Kind of like Eon Coffee. As we go outside the last place on earth where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California.
And here's today's podcast picture.
So I had never gone stunt kiting before. And I got to do a little bit of that when I was in Bodega Bay, when I was vacationing with Robert Owen Welsh and his family, Welsh on the World. And there I was, they gave me one of those kites that kind of looked like a parachute. And I was trying to control that and flying around, trying not to hit people on the beach. And all those things happening at once. And there's a picture of me trying to manage all that, and I'm wearing my cool red glasses that I got from Google, although they're not the Google Glass. Because then if you wear that, you're an ultra nerd. And that was a fun time. Try a kite, stunt kite. I can't say the word, but you know what I'm saying, kite flying. That's right. Try that sometime. The stunt kind is fun. And that is the podcast picture you can find at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Michael Matthew, what I want to say right now is that if everybody looks at a bowl of cereal, they will be filled with wonderment, and they will feel so insignificant too.
You mean it's like looking up at the night sky with the kind of night sky that's unimpeded by all the outside light?
Yes, Michael Matthew, they will get the same experience.
Interesting. And then you actually eat the cereal where you can't eat the real night sky.
No, Michael Matthew.
Don't you just hate all those street lights now and yard lights and everything that impedes the real night sky?
No, Michael Matthew, I love that stuff because I don't like the dark.
Okay. Tomorrow we'll bring you the segment, it's the return of MasterPod Theater, where we will have two very special guests on that segment. Plus we'll hear from Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the engineer.
She gave me a calculus problem that I couldn't solve, so she wouldn't let me take her out. Do you know that?
It's hard to date college girls.
I know that.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!